Hey, everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo. This is a very special video for you tonight. I haven't seen this group since October, and there's actually a brand new face the team is building out. So I want to welcome Anish Jain. He's the CEO of Wadzpay. And then with him is Stas Medorsky. He's the Senior Vice President of Marketing. So nice to see you, Stas. And then we have Malcolm Copeland, the Head Market Development for the Blockchain Payments. It's fantastic to see you growing, Anish. You've got a lot going on. I think, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in what's happening. So I'm going to just start and get right into it, okay? When we last spoke, you talked about maybe possibly going into new geographies for your expansion. What can you update us on that?
Well, thanks, Eri, and nice to connect with you again and the community as well. Well, a lot has happened since October. We've been very busy in a very good way. We've been expanding. So we have expanded quite a bit in Middle East. We were earlier only in Dubai. Now we are opening an office in Bahrain. We are looking also at expansion in Africa. That's also on the back of a couple of CBDC projects that we're doing in Africa. And in Asia, we are expanding rapidly now in the Southeast Asian region. And we are getting people in each of these markets. Even from a development standpoint, we now have a trading desk in London, plus also a development center in London. And of course, we've just signed up something recently in Canada. So hopefully setting something up there as well. So yeah, we've been busy. We've been doing a lot, and it's been interesting.
So Africa is a big country. I mean, and big continent. There's a lot of countries there. Can you give us an idea as to which countries you're working with?
So the way we are structured, MENA is one region, which is Middle East and North Africa. Yep. And that's managed out of Dubai as the headquarters. Now that we are now expanding south of Africa as well, so that is below Egypt, we've started working on that. So there is action in a couple of big markets which we're working in. These are mostly government projects, so I would not be able to give you too much detail there, but there are some very interesting projects happening there. Superb.
So partnerships, and yeah, I'd love to know if you have any update that you can give us on some. Everybody always wants to know names, right?
Well, I wish it was that easy to give out names and who those partners are. See, we are in a space where we are in a disruptive space while we are playing along with the regulator. So we are not playing against the regulator. So a lot of these things are either regulations which are not set yet or not built yet. In certain markets, we are under exemption, where we've been given an exemption to operate while the regulator watches us. So this is a very fine line, and we try and tread as carefully as possible. In fact, we've been recently trying to pull back on anything to do with partnerships because a lot of interest gets generated and speculations start happening, and which does not sit very well for our business.
Right.
But there is a lot which is happening. I'm sure Stas would be raring to go and talk about those, but yes, I know that he has a few announcements up his alley coming up over the next 1 week, 2 weeks, but yeah, there is a lot of action happening. But the good thing is we made progress on the CBDC front, very strong progress on the CBDC front. We have also made some relationships with acquirers, a few duty-frees, some issuing banks, some neobanks, etc. So, and of course, on the gaming side, we're moving forward. And we've also introduced a new line of business, which is with NFTs. So, yeah.
That was one of my questions. You've been talking about NFTs and metaverse on social media. So I definitely want to know why all of a sudden this is a topic that you're talking about.
Well, it's a really fascinating space, right? I mean, NFTs in the HarperCollins dictionary was the word of the year last year. So it's on everyone's tip of their tongue. Everybody literally is talking about it. My mom is asking me about NFTs. My dad knows about NFTs, and it's a craze that blew up. One thing that we believe in, though, that NFTs need to have some use case, some utility, but beyond just a digital asset ownership standpoint. And this, if you call it the metaverse, or you can just say gaming, basically, is a really good application of NFTs, because people are already kind of doing it in a way. They're developing, say, in Pokemon, catching their own characters, and by Pokemon Go battling with other people. But up until now, there was payments in it, but there was no real way for people to really get a financial benefit from themselves for it. So it was just a personal benefit, success, and winning against others. So this world of NFTs and blockchain-based gaming really enables this new layer of incentivizing gamers and rewarding them for their time spent, because they spend so much time on it, to the extent that it can almost become like a full-time job for some people. And people have been quite successful off this blockchain-based gaming space. So for that reason, we have a strategic partnership with someone, and we're working on a NFT-based gaming project. It's a really fun one. I can't wait to play it myself. The first phase will be about NFTs, and we'll bring you more news as soon as we can on that. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's great. The timing is perfect because it is just really exploding with interest and with adoption. You know, thanks to NFTs, we've seen such fast adoption from people who really didn't pay attention to this space at all. And I'm loving the way it is evolving. It's going way beyond just JPEG. Yeah, way beyond. Okay, can you tell me about the XDC bridge? I know that so many people watching my channel are big fans of XDC, and I want to know more about this bridge.
Definitely, definitely. So this was a particularly ambitious and exciting project for us. XDC are incredible partners. There are so many ways that we are doing business with them, essentially. And their network is phenomenal. I mean, the TPS is great, the fees are low, as I'm sure you know yourself. And as we talked in October, one of the key promises that we want to deliver on is interoperability between different blockchain protocols, because like we keep saying, choice should be in the user's hands. You should be able to select what network you want to use based on the specific applications and your specific use cases. So if you want to be in trade finance, remittances, XDC is a brilliant platform. If you want to be in NFTs and gaming, BSC, Solana could be amazing platforms. And each one of those protocols have their own pros and cons, their own nuances. And that's why we believe in this choice. So we're really one of the only low cap coins that have a bridge in place. And people can now easily convert their ERC20 Ethereum-based WTK tokens to XDC, XRC20 network tokens, and even to Binance Smart Chain, which we've already introduced as well very quickly.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll be expanding to more as well, just to give people that choice and that ability to create different use cases for their digital assets.
Yeah, I think those people with this interoperability in mind going forward are going to be very successful. So I'm really happy to hear that. What about this? Is I'm sure that everybody is curious about. There was a hack on Bitmart, and I think you managed that situation, but you were affected, and I just want to know what can you tell us? That's scary.
Yeah, well, this was scary. First, I'd like to thank everybody who hung on to us, and you know they kept on pushing us and to do the right thing. Well, I know that when the hack happened, I remember my first conversation was with Stas at 8 a.m. in the morning, and we were like, what do we do? And how do we reach out to people? How do we talk to these people? Because everybody must be worried for what has happened. And those were our first thoughts, that how do we make this entire thing, or how do we manage this entire thing? And I think the way we thought through it was put ourselves in the shoes of anybody who was holding WTK. And we ramped up our communication. We came up with plan ABC. I remember the first 72 hours, the team worked nonstop just to figure out what could be those plan ABC. It was unfortunate. And I guess we took that problem into our own hands and we resolved it. We didn't want to be dependent on anyone or any third party for a resolution, because that could It's good that it's all called sorted for Bitmart as well. So congratulations to the Bitmart team as well. But we don't know. So because there was so much of unknown, we took things in our own hand and we moved forward with it. But I'm glad. And with the numbers that Stas has shared with us, it's brilliant. There have been no issues at all reported. We were able to deploy a brand new contract, and all things went well. But yes, it was an unfortunate event, and hopefully it doesn't happen in the future.
Yeah, they're very difficult, and I feel for everybody who is ever involved in something like that. I mean, I'm with experience from Mt. Gox and CoinCheck, and I remember when CZ had it happen to him, and he showed up live on Twitter, and it's just a really tough part of this space. Well, I want to know, let's get back to payments, because I'm really curious. You can build a solution, but how do you actually roll out to merchants, and how do you achieve contacting the unbanked? That's really a big question mark that I have when it comes to payments.
Yeah. So very good question. We are a technology company in a B2B space, right? Of course, we do programs which sometimes make B2C as well, but essentially we are a B2B technology provider. What we are doing is enabling existing infrastructures to now start communicating with blockchain as well. So these infrastructures could be local switches, international switches, or cross-border switches that we already work with. So these are already relevant in the payment ecosystem. Then we work with payment service providers in different markets who would already have programs. So we are not working against any payment distributor or payment provider. We are working with them. And we have had tremendous success. Like I said, we also work with the regulator. So there is one part wherein we are enabling the existing ecosystem to now start accepting or start issuance of blockchain wallets or accepting blockchain transactions. And then there's the other side, which is the unbanked and the underserved. And for that, we are working with the likes of telcos or other distribution networks who have previously not been tapped into for distribution. But even if somebody does not have a bank account, the chances of them having a phone is pretty high.
Right.
So that is how we are working. Technology is also leapfrogging this year, and we'll see a lot more action happening. Apple is going to remove its SIM card slot from its phones. So there's some interesting stuff to come. So that's how we are connecting into the existing ecosystem and the upcoming ecosystem. So there's a lot.
Yeah, sounds like a good approach. And if you are talking about markets that are adopting digital the fastest, I'm kind of just curious, because Southeast Asia seems to be quite receptive, but then I see the Middle East coming on strong. So I'm just kind of curious, where do you see that happening in 2022?
Yeah, I think I'll take that one. And Eri, you're right. In terms, I want to just add real quick with what Anish was saying in regards to adoption. We're not really trying to, spin a wheel here and come out with something completely disruptive where we're not able to at least emulate existing customer behavior or customer habits. So what we are trying to do is really emulate everyday spend, everyday transactions over the counter or e-commerce, and really just provide an alternative payment method to this new demographic that's coming up, right? In terms of markets, I come from the gaming space for the last 20 years, so I can speak of that. And Stas touched on it earlier. We think gaming is definitely going to be big, right? But then when we talk about gaming, there's different aspects and subcategories, right? We're talking about real money gaming. We're talking about social gaming, which might encompass, esports, play to earn, and then this whole big buzzword going on today with the metaverse, right? And Web 3.0 technologies and the NFTs. What I see there again are a demographic of millennials and digital savvy folks who, haven't really touched cash probably in their life, right? They've been stuck on a mobile phone. So I see it there going really quickly. And what we're trying to do is really make it easy for them to engage and spend cryptocurrencies or digital currencies or CBDCs. And make the on-ramps, off-ramps very easy and seamless and frictionless for them too in terms of the customer experience. And then we've got, the local fiat currencies in certain markets around the world where they're experiencing extreme devaluation, right? Especially in these, Latin American or African, countries. And, there's a huge flavor and appetite for, the digital currencies to be used. And then also, obviously, in jurisdictions and under regulatory frameworks where, there's huge digital transformation going on, and countries that are pushing for cashless societies like Rwanda. A lot of places are really, a lot of countries are really pushing for, digital transactions, just because the cost of traditional finance and having to have that burden to an overhead to manage the, those kinds of traditional payments.
Yeah, and those markets are really unique because they never got stuck into writing checks. Like Americans are still writing checks. And they didn't, and they totally really skipped the whole credit card business, right?
Yes,
they're able to go straight from cash, just easily leapfrog into digital. So I think that really aids to the adoption for sure. And so if you're in Rwanda, how does a person then use your app? Do they go and download it and they find it on Google or in the Apple store? How does that process work?
Yeah, in cases like that, we're actually working closely with central bank and working under their framework and regulatory regime. So they would basically, we're talking about a stable coin that's governed by a government, right? So it would be app-based, and as Anish mentioned earlier, we work with telcos. So in Africa and these particular markets, it's heavily based on mobile payments. So Momo, they call it Momo, right? Mobile money. So again, we'd be integrating in potentially in existing distribution networks, right? And that's one channel. And then also agent banking is a huge distribution channel in these markets as well, where you have the non-traditional transactions taking place in, let's say, a marketplace where you have women who are taking the burden to have to generate income for their families selling in open markets. They're used to using a mobile phone to send money back out to the village after they've did their day's work. So we'd be integrating those type of environments there.
That's really, really good. How about the social media? How do you see that helping you get to where you're trying to go? This might be a question for Stas, because Stas, I know there are so many platforms out there, and I'm just kind of curious. There's Discord, there's Telegram, there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's, I'm just kind of curious what's working for you. Where do people find you? So if they really want to follow your progress, are you doing Instagram? Are you doing TikTok? I mean, really, there's just like, what's working?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I mean, there's been a big fragmentation of social media, and a lot of those platforms are going after very specific niches. Like your Twitch crowd is very different to your Facebook crowd, obviously. Your Discord crowd is, again, radically different to anything else out there. There might be some overlap with Twitter and Telegram. So you're definitely seeing a bigger proliferation, and that's why it's also it's been important for us to kind of focus on the right channels which are working for us based on the specific targets which we have. So I think overall the best channel for any company should still be their website, because you have to get that right. You have to get the right information on there. It's not a great channel for keeping people up to date with daily activities, but at least people will understand your vision, who you are, what you stand for, who is on your team. So I still, I love websites personally. I think they're an important part, which I think a lot of companies are starting to kind of skip over or gloss over a lot in favor of building a company.
You're sounding old-fashioned, and I've got a lot of years on you.
It's all my makeup. No, but then we have the other media as well. So like Anish mentioned, Twitter was something that until recently wasn't something that was in our day-to-day use, but we realized how important that can be and how interesting that can be. Generally, Instagram, Facebook, we see as like very brand equity driven media, where we display how we want to represent ourselves as a brand. And LinkedIn is fantastic from a B2B standpoint. A lot of other companies and businesses will be looking at us to try and see how we are innovating, what our thoughts are, what our opinion leadership is all about. So there's really a place for all of them to play and sit within an overall structure. And that's why we focus on those key mediums, but something like Discord right now, we don't really have a plan to go into, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just curious because it just is, there's so many platforms happening at the same time. So just, I guess you just
yeah, I mean, and to add to that, to Stas's point, so this year we will be experimenting with some above the line marketing as well. So you would start to see the Wadzpay logo appearing with certain spots. So so yeah, I mean, we're going traditional, non-traditional, like we are in traditional and non-traditional space. So there is a lot of experimentation that we're doing.
Yeah, you're melding between those two worlds for sure. So this WTK token, I understand that it pays for fees when you access the payment platform, but I just was curious. I read through your white paper that came out just today, was it, or in the last 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was kind of curious. One of the questions I came up with as I was reading through it is, well, how much does it cost? Because I didn't catch that in reading.
Yeah, and it's variable. So it's a currency essentially. So fees can be payable in that specific currency. And we work with such a large number of businesses or partners or what have you. And their business models, the scale and the scope of their business significantly varies. There might be some which process literally millions of transactions per day. There might be some which process a small number of high value transactions. And so we base our business model around that. We basically tailor it and size it according to what makes sense for the specific partner that we work on.
Okay, I understand. That's why it's not just set in a in a rate card, if you will. So you have this token. It also provides these faster, cheaper settlements, which I think this audience very much understands. I want to know though, does the merchant receive WTK or is it converted into fiat for them? You know, so I'm just kind of curious, are they accruing the token as well, or how does that workflow go?
Okay, so from a settlement standpoint, let me make a correction here. We allow for settlements, we allow for payments in any currency. So it could be BTC, it could be Ethereum, it could be WTK, it could be any, what have you. But there is a fee which is charged to the merchant, or there is a fee which is charged for settlement. That fee is usually charged in WTK. That being said, it's a three-step process. So there is payment which is made when a consumer walks into a merchant, makes a payment. It's consumer's choice which currency he wants to use. It could be CBDC, stablecoin, or volatile currency. Then the merchant makes a settlement. That time a fee is charged. That fee is paid in WTK usually. And the settlement, which happens in the bank account, is dictated by the local regulator. So if that settlement has to be in local currency, is it allowed in USD or is it allowed in digital asset? That is dictated by the regulator. We do not play a part in that. We off-ramp the transaction based on regulatory requirements.
Got it. Makes sense. Really, it does. And staking. I know that a lot of people, wow, just in the last 6 to 9 months, this focus on passive income and staking is really becoming important for the holders of any sort of digital asset. Where can people find the staking option? What kind of yield would they expect? Are they paid back in tokens? Is it done through the app? I have all those questions when it comes to staking.
Yeah, so definitely everyone wants to generate a passive income, and in this industry, it's almost become something that you have to have in order to stay competitive. And it makes sense in the traditional world of fiat. Essentially, you have your currencies and they sit in your bank or in your wallet and they generate essentially zero interest. There's almost no change on a regular basis. But in this market, there's so much utility from the digital assets that staking can be something that is offered. Even for stable coins, you can get quite competitive staking rates.
Yes.
So what we've done, we've started the staking program with WTK in partnership with True Exchange. It's available with 12% APR, which is definitely a lot better than anything you can get in a bank account anywhere. And it's just it's a 30-day lockup, and it's a way to redistribute some of the WTK to some of the holders. We definitely have more plans and more interesting ways for staking to happen, including with NFT related staking and some benefits around that. It's quite an interesting space, and it will be a growing space, I think, with new unique staking mechanisms. I've personally seen from the industry some kind of even NFT-based unlocks for greater staking rates and things like that. Basically, a way to stake a specific asset and get more utility.
Right, or your API goes up if you buy the NFT. Yeah, lots
so it's
of
something we're
creative
monitoring
ways.
close. Yeah, we'll keep monitoring it. We want to stay on top of this rapidly evolving industry and keep things fresh. Yeah,
I'm really happy to see those financial solutions come to people in the retail investment space. It's about time, you know. It's really, I feel that part of this space has been fantastic to level the playing field, and it's getting better and better for just the little people out there. And I'm a little person, you know, but we didn't have these types of solutions before, so it's just great. If I go to airdrops, I'm just kind of curious. There's so many airdrops too. This is another part of the space that's really loving to do airdrops. Do I receive an airdrop? Do I get WTK tokens? Do I get NFTs? What do I get if I participate in one of your airdrops?
For sure. And look, we haven't really been doing airdrops in the past. And the reason for that is we were an ERC20, and just to execute anything to do with airdrops, even if it's to potential merchant partners for any kind of scheme within the payments ecosystem, it didn't make sense. You're paying so much.
Crazy expensive, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So now that we're in XDC, now we're in BSC, now that we're coming to Solana and other platforms, this becomes suddenly something that can add strategic value. So airdrops will be used for certain schemes. They may be used, for example, to drive some specific action. And yeah, the good thing is we now have this available to us whenever we want, whereas previously it was a bit restricted.
Yeah. I think you'll get a lot of interest, and I think you'll have a lot of happy people if you participate in a couple of airdrops a year. But yeah, it's a big job. Oh, so you're partnering with exchanges that are assisting you in doing settlement with fiat, I imagine, right? Can you talk about any of those partners, those exchanges?
So what we are doing is building a very sophisticated on-ramp and off-ramp platform, which does require liquidity providers. It also requires banks to participate. Something which I had referred to, I think, in our last conversation was money exchange in the cloud. And that is what we are building, wherein you're able to move a certain asset into the cloud and then exchange that asset to another asset class and move that based on what the regulatory environment in a certain market could be. So it could be a fiat to digital asset, a digital asset to CBDC, CBDC to stablecoin, back to fiat, onto a card, off a card. So that's the sophisticated nature of what we're building. Very happy to say that it's almost there. We have the first CBDC infrastructure which actually works. We've done a POC on that. We are in almost connecting that with the central bank, and we will be running the pilot very soon. So there is a lot which is going on. So yes, in terms of liquidity providers, we do work with exchanges and banks, also central banks. It's good to see that now you can have those conversations across the board, because the central banks never looked at exchanges in the past, but now they're very open to have those conversations. So it's opening up in a very nice way. There are still, I believe, there are some obstacles, but I think 2022 would be a very good year for interoperability between traditional and non-traditional world.
Yeah, I did too. When you were talking, in my mind, I was seeing the Tokyo subway, because the Tokyo subway is, just, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's just
Yes.
So many different colors that are intersecting and going, but they all flow, that traffic flows through so many different routes. I think that's really actually what I think you're doing in all of those different types of solutions. Yeah, it's good.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm just curious what's on the horizon. We'll wrap it up. I'd love to hear any recap from each one of you that you want to leave us with some parting words. So yeah, please go ahead. Malcolm, let me hear from you.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Eri. I think one of the main things that we're driving and investing a lot in internally is the interoperability side of it, right? And try to make this whole talk of adoption a reality. We're really building infrastructure here over at Wadzpay, so we can interact with different blockchain networks. Today, everybody's working in silos. We're making it very hard for the masses to be able to transfer not just digital assets but information across blockchain networks. So we're really building a lot and starting with the initiatives that Stas and the team have done with the bridges between a few specific networks. We're broadening that out to other types of digital assets on different networks, as well as the fiat world, right? So the importance for us is really emulating existing behaviors in the economy, but then also bringing in fiat, CBDCs, digital assets, cryptocurrencies, all together onto our ledger, so we can be able to facilitate trade and hit all the different markets all in one. So if they come to Wadzpay, they'll know that they have a secure platform that they can trade on, and we'll be able to plug into all the liquidity providers, custodial providers, and then with our platform, adopt it where necessary under every regulatory framework possible around the world.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like you are totally on track. Stas, what would you like to leave us with?
Sure. I think it's connected to the fact that we're talking to each other. The last time we talked was in October, like we said, and it felt like a lifetime away. And it's testament to just how quickly we are growing and how much we are doing. Now we're at like 50 plus people or something like that, getting to have to remember new names every single day. And just the diversity of the experiences that people I work with bring to the table every day. I'm genuinely learning so much from all of them. I came from a corporate P&G environment.
P&G,
kind of,
right.
yeah, and you get to know your team. Exactly. You basically only know your team, but in this very agile organization, you constantly have people with just so many years of experience in payments and technology and blockchain. And we quickly plug in that knowledge back into the Wadzpay knowledge base. And we can use that to either pursue new businesses, new opportunities, or improve our technology and our infrastructure to unique ways. So it's really dizzying how we say that word. And it's crazy just to see how in such a short period of time we can come so far. And I look forward to chatting in a few more months, and hopefully it'll be a team of a lot more and more amazing names that we can talk to you with.
Yeah, honestly, I see a huge difference from the last time we talked to what is happening now, and just even the way you are presenting what you've done and what you're doing. I mean, I really see that there has been a huge few steps forward. Yeah, Anish, please take us out.
Well, I think I am personally very happy where we are in January 2022. We spent 2020 and 2021 building the business, building the capability, understanding what we were doing ourselves. We learned a lot. We're still learning a lot. But I think 2022 is where we see that everything that we have done over the last 2 years will come into action. And I'm very excited about it. We have built a fantastic team I'm very proud of. And pretty much everything, or all the heavy lifting which I was doing, is now with the team and Malcolm, and there's so many others who have joined us. and they're doing the heavy lifting on the behalf of the company now. So I think 2022 is where we will actually show growth, expansion, new markets, new geographies, of course, a much larger team. And yes, change the face of payments. As we always say, we want to make payments fun again because they are fun. And that's what we endeavor to do this year. And I'm sure we will, like we have always delivered, we'll deliver this year as well.
That's great. Yeah, finally, a lot of the companies that have been building for the last couple of years, I think 2022 is going to be a big year for a lot of projects.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very exciting to be in this space, even more than it was last year, which is just almost mind-boggling. Anyway, I am so thrilled. And of course, you're welcome to come back anytime. So the next time, congratulations on getting your white paper out. Congratulations on your move. Congratulations on adding to your team. And I just know that we'll be in touch, and hopefully in a few months from now, you'll come back and give us another update.
Definitely. And thank you for having us, Crypto.
You're very welcome. Talk to you all
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Take care.